The Hidden History of Neoliberalism, How Reaganism Gutted America, and How to Restore Its Greatness. Written by Thom Hartmann. Narrated by Pratt. The great innovation of Hayek and Mises was to create a defense of the free market using the language of freedom and revolutionary change. Even as the welfare state and the mixed economy were coming into existence, Hayek and Mises set as their political imperative tearing them down. Kim Phillips Fain, from the book Invisible Hands, The Businessmen's Crusade Against the New Deal. Neoliberal democracy. Instead of citizens, it produces consumers. Instead of communities, it produces shopping malls. The net result is an atomized society of disengaged individuals who feel demoralized and socially powerless. In sum, neoliberalism is the immediate and foremost enemy of genuine participatory democracy, not just in the United States, but across the planet, and will be for the foreseeable future. Robert W. McChesney. Introduction to Profit Over People, Neoliberalism and Global Order by Noam Chomsky. Foreword by Greg Palast. Milton Friedman's feet didn't touch the floor. This was the University of Chicago, 1975, and Professor Friedman was God. God sat in a chair, the little man's feet dangling, as he humiliated students who deviated in the slightest from the gospel of Friedman, what he dubbed neoliberalism. I kept my head down. Friedman didn't know I was sent to study with him and his Chicago boys by the city's labor leadership. They wanted to know if this Friedman was as dangerous as he seemed. Friedman was the not-so-hidden hand behind the new dictatorship of Chile's Augusto Pinochet. Pinochet liked to throw dissenters out of helicopters, whatever it took to create what Friedman called the miracle of Chile, a radical right-wing makeover of the nation's economy. Bless Thom Hartmann for exposing the neo-lib genesis story. The miracle in Chile was a con. Hartmann notes that Chile's economy went into freefall under the Chicago Boys regime. Unemployment hit 30%. Hartmann's book is a beautiful history of an ugly idea, that greed is good, and uncontrolled greed is better, even if it leads to mass misery. Squeezed into this thin volume is a huge amount of, I didn't know that, info that's both horrifying and weirdly fun. I didn't know that George W. Bush's Medicare Modernization Act of 2003 resulted in the quiet privatization of nearly half of Medicare's services. Yow! Hartmann's most original contribution is to posit that the antidote for neoliberalism's poison is not a new New Deal, but rather Alexander Hamilton's American Plan. In 1791, at George Washington's request, Hamilton drafted a guide for strategic tariff protection, government support for jobs and industry, government regulation of products, and direct control of banking. Hamilton's American Plan made America rich, and China too. Hartmann dismisses the baloney that China's manufacturing boom was the result of throwing the economy into the free market soup. Hartmann was studying in China in 1986 when Chairman Deng and Premier Zhou came down on the side of Hamilton after a 2-year fight with Friedmanite economists within the Communist Party. The losing neolibs had wanted China to take one big step and follow the Soviet Union's shock therapy, that is, jump straight into the freezing waters of totally rule-free markets, uncontrolled international trade, privatization of industry, and shrunken government. We know what happened. Russia is still in shock. Wages and production have shriveled, life expectancy has fallen, while China's government-guided industry now produces 1/8 of the planet's goods and services. And the United States? As Hartmann puts it in a chapter title, America adopted neoliberalism, and all I got was this made-in-China t-shirt. The neolib's useful idiot, pundit Thomas Friedman, praised deregulation as
Sample complete. Ready to continue?